Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for new moon in Gemini, and it's really good to have this energy finally after so many turbulences and after so many battles, inner battles, darkness, tensions, and worries and anxieties that we've been through thanks to eclipses. And the previous lunation, full moon in Sagittarius, was pretty intense too, because there was this opposition between Pluto and Mars and Venus. Now it's a little bit different energy, and we have a new moon in Gemini, so we have more cheerful energy for us, because there is Sun and the Moon, and the ruler of this new moon, Mercury, is also in Gemini. It's in its rulership. So this is very good, because we are given this push and boost. We are like the wind. We are like the wind actually now, and we can identify with the wind. It will be beautiful to identify with the wind, because Gemini is an air sign. It's mutable air sign, and it's very adapting and adjustable and witty and humorous and cheerful and social. Of course, there are dark sides of the Gemini, but we are given this option and chance to connect and link with this cheerful side of the Gemini. So we can use this power to link with that frequency, to connect with it. And it's amazing to have this energy right now, because this is like a truly turning on the light, and it feels very good. It feels like the sunshine after the storm, after the heavy storm and the dark clouds. The sunshine comes up, the sun rises, and we see the rainbow. So it's very good to be right here, right now, and to be aware that this new moon gives us ability for new beginnings. Each new moon is very good for planting new seeds, for setting intentions, for initiating something new, for starting something, for taking first steps towards something we want to see manifested in the future. And this one is very much about our way of talking, way of communicating, way of expressing ourselves, way of thinking. It's a lot about our mental energy and about our mind. Gemini is very mental, and it's about the way we think. It's about our thought processes, and it's also about our nervous system. It's about us being mentally aware as well. It's about mental awareness and thought structures, and we can dissolve some of these thought patterns now, and a lot of these patterns are actually habitual. So we are now acknowledging these habitual patterns, mental patterns, and we have an ability to transform some of them. And we have an ability to play with these energies, because Gemini is also very playful. And during this time, we also have Mars and Venus together in playful Leo. So this is very good. This is very helpful, and it's shining a light on our relationships, on our partnerships, on our love life, on our creativity, on the child within us, on the things that truly and really make us feel alive. We also had Mars in Leo in previous lunation, and now we have help from Venus there too. So now we have Venus and Mars together, two lovers, masculine and feminine, yin and yang, left and right hemispheres of the brain. And Gemini is also about duality, about that sacred marriage of masculine and feminine, about healing the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We hear so many talks about the divine feminine, but nobody is talking about divine masculine and healing that part too. because we are now going through this process of healing our traumas that we have inherited for during many centuries because of the patriarchy. So we are not going into matriarchy either. There was a time of matriarchy, then we had time of patriarchy, and now it's time for something new, for some new way of thinking, for a new thought, new ideas, something that hasn't been there yet, something that needs to be born out of that matriarchy and patriarchy. So this is also the symbology of new moon. The connection, it's the conjunction between the sun and the moon, the king and the queen of the zodiac. So the father and the mother, masculine and feminine, the sun and the moon, the silver and the gold. Gold, the sun, silver, the moon. So when we have these two together, there is this alchemical process, and the child is born. This is the newborn. That's why the new moon, the new child, the new entity, new idea, new thought. It's in Gemini. New words, new languages, but not literal languages, but new way of communicating with each other. Mental connections. These are mental connections. So neither matriarchy, neither patriarchy. This is again duality. Like I have to choose between matriarchy and patriarchy, or I have to choose between the left or the right hemisphere of the brain, or I have to choose between intuition and logic, or I have to choose between ego and soul. No, we don't have to choose. It's not either or. It's about symbiosis of these energies. And this is what Gemini is all about. And this is what this conjunction between Mars and Venus is also about. It's teaching us how to feel a true joy of being who we are. Like really feeling that joy and really connecting our mind and heart. Leo energy, Mars and Venus, they're together in Leo. Mars in Leo is acting from the heart. Very straightforward, very direct, very motivated, inspired. So we have this support now. And Venus, planet of love, beauty, harmony, values, finances, comfort, luxury, design, all these beautiful things and aesthetics, is also in Leo. And when she's in Leo, she can be very demanding. She can also be a bit dramatic. So we have this possible dramatic conflict between masculine and feminine, between male and female energy, between our intuition and logic, between our intentions and reality that we see. But this is also given to us for a reason, so that we can see what is missing, what can we do, how can we work on this to bring it back together, to bring it back into the fusion. So there was a process of diffusion. Now we are coming into the space and time of fusion, and we are fusing with all the lost parts of ourselves. And Mars and Venus in Leo, very playful energy, very inspiring energy, reminding us of these dualities within ourselves. And Gemini, new moon, together with the sun and Mercury, the ruler there, very strong, very awakening, very thoughtful and mindful energy, reminding us of the power of learning and the power of transferring knowledge too, of sharing information. Gemini is very much about the news and messages, and Mercury is the messenger of gods, transferring messages. Mercury can travel from this world to the other world, to the underworld, and just be the messenger between the worlds. And this is the time when we are also hearing important messages and good news, interesting news. But we should be careful, because this new moon makes square with Neptune in Pisces. And the square, as I say many times in my lives, square is a bit tense aspect. It's a bit tough. it gets us out of our comfort zone, but it's very good because it gives us ability to break free from something restrictive. But first, it puts the pressure on us. So we may feel this pressure a little bit, but we may also feel a bit confused, or we can feel mental fog, because Gemini, it's the mental energy, and Neptune in Pisces, it's in its own sign. Like we have Mercury in its own sign, Neptune in its own sign, so it's very strong energy. It's felt very much on a collective level too, because Pisces and Neptune is about the collective, and it's about generations. So it's a fog. Neptune and Pisces can be foggy energy, illusions, deceptions, mass hypnosis, fantasies, science fiction. And then we have Gemini, the facts and information, logic, knowledge. So we have facts versus fiction. And again, the point is not to choose between these sides, but to use the best from the both, because Neptune can also, even though it can put us into illusions and give us maybe fake information, fake news, a lot of fake news possibly during this time. Also fake news, not only collectively, but in our individual lives. Fake news, something, we may hear something that is not true, or we may think something about something that turns out it's not really like that. So we should be really careful about, believing something immediately. Just let's turn on our mental awareness and our intuition. Neptune in Pisces gives us this ability to sink in within ourselves and to connect with our intuition, to connect with our hidden subconscious world, to connect with that which is intangible and invisible and untouchable. We can now touch the untouchable. We can see the invisible. We can feel those things that are unreachable. We can reach them now. So it's open. The veil between these worlds is thin now. We can just walk through them. So that's why the dreams are also very important. Neptune in Pisces, it's about dreams. And even though it can, put us in a big mental confusion and mental deceptions, it can give us our inner clarity. It can give us spiritual clarity. Neptune in Pisces, highly spiritual. So it gives us an ability to purify our thoughts, to polish our thoughts, to have a clearer perception. This is, subconscious purification. It's about our subconscious purification. And we can now collect new data, new information. We can pick up some interesting things from the collective, and again, be careful, because we can pick up some things that are not as they seem to be. Again, so we have to be open-minded, very much open-minded, and ready to be stretched, to explore, to seek, to be surprised, to be shocked, to be funny, to be curious, just to be able to see reality from many different angles, because this is, again, Gemini energy and Venus and Mars together in Leo and the square with Neptune. So it's a message for us. It's teaching us to express ourselves in a funny way. No matter how hard something could be, we shouldn't forget to express ourselves in a funny way. And this is the higher octave of this energy. To be cheerful, to see that side, the other side of the rainbow, and the other side of the eclipse too, because still this eclipse is still there. It was 5th of May when we had this eclipse, and now it's middle of June, so it's still there. 4 to 6 weeks. The energy of eclipses is very strong and influences 6 months. So we may see the other side of the eclipse, and we may also be thinking about, actually, we may not be thinking about, we will be asked about our words and thoughts. Are we using uplifting words in our communication with others? How are we speaking with others? How are we communicating with others? What is our tone? What is the melody of my voice? What is my intention behind these words? How do I connect with others? How do I interact with others? How do I relate to others? How do I express my thoughts in my conversations with people? Do I use words to dominate others? Or do I use words to inspire and uplift others and myself? Do I use words to complain? Do I use words to show my power? Do I use words to hurt others? Do I use words in a violent way, or do I use words in a gentle and kind and nurturing way? This will be very important, because the way we use our words is the way we will receive the energy back from everything, not only from other people, but literally from everything, from the places we look at, because this is very strong energy, and it's not only words, it's our thoughts too. So it's about our mental patterns and our mental projections. What are we thinking about? What are my thoughts like during the day, every day? What kind of thoughts prevail in my life? Do I find myself sinking in my thoughts, or do I have a way to rise above and to always get myself out of those negative thought patterns? Of course, we have to have those thoughts sometimes, but we identify with them. That's the problem. The problem is that we identify with those negative thoughts, and we think that that we are negative, or we cannot find a way to get ourselves out of those thoughts. But thoughts are simply there. They cannot disappear. They continuously run around, and we pick up on them. And when we are aligned with the frequency of certain group of thoughts, that kind of thoughts we will attract. So we should also ask ourselves, what kind of thoughts do I attract in my life? And how do I express them in my reality with other people? And Gemini also is a lot, and Mercury represents our siblings, our brothers and sisters, and people who feel like brothers and sisters, our relatives, our neighbors, people we meet every day, people from our local community. So we may have some situations with these people during this time too. And it's very important how we behave in these connections, in our everyday communications. How do we have these conversations? Are they meaningful? Are they simply there just to say? Are we saying things just for the sake of saying them? Or are we aware of the thoughts and words we express? Because, again, I will say as many times, words are spells. We create what we speak, and it's now very strong, because now we will see the way we are now in the world, the way our reality is for us individually, is a direct result of our words and thoughts. So what kind of words do we use? It's time to ask these kinds of questions. And it's also amazing time for being more mentally disciplined. We have Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is stationing retrograde in Pisces only one day before this new moon in Gemini, which happens on the 18th of June. So on the 17th of June, Saturn retrogrades, and we will be very much faced with lessons that we have been skipping. What lessons have we been skipping? We are about to see what lessons we keep skipping. So we now have to use our mental power and willpower to accomplish something we find difficult. And it can be meditation practice. Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is about meditation. It's about spiritual journey. It's about contemplation, but it's also about isolation and withdrawing. So let's use this Saturn in Pisces retrograde to truly, seriously look within ourselves and to deal with our thought patterns, to deal with our mental projections, to deal with our mental addictions as well, because we have many of them. We have many mental addictions. And let's work on our mental healing. Everything comes from this space. Every illness, every injury, every conflict is coming from this space. And we may be thinking very fast during this time too. We have Mercury in Gemini, new moon in Gemini, Venus and Mars in Leo together. So fast thoughts, fast words, fast talking, quick ideas, but thoughts precede emotions, and it's much easier to change a thought than it is to change emotions. So let's guard our thoughts. We have to nurture and polish them, and breath is very important. Gemini rules lungs and breathing too, so breath and breathing very important. And Neptune in Pisces telling us to slow down. Saturn retrograde in Pisces also telling us to slow down, even though it's Gemini, even though it's cheerful energy and very active, socially active. But also let's remember to breathe, to slow down, and to be grateful for lungs, for air that we breathe, becoming aware of breathing, becoming ever more grateful for the power of speech also, because these are the things we use for granted. Like, we are born with this. Some people don't have this ability. Some people cannot speak. Some people have these physical issues, but of course they have, it's proven that these people have more developed their intuition and their sixth sense. So let's also be grateful for these things that we are given by birth, the ability to speak, how powerful it is that we have ability to express our inner state of being through words, and how powerful it is that we can think. Imagine everything that we see manifested in this world came from a thought. First we had an idea about something, then we created it. Like, we had an idea of a house, we had an idea of building something, we had an idea of creating a home, or creating a town, creating a city, and then we created it. There was first an idea, then we put it somewhere, we put it on the paper, we write it down, and then we created. So very powerful, having words to speak, having thoughts to express, having lungs to breathe, having hands. Gemini, the hands. Hands are very powerful. Hands are extension of the heart. Hands are antennas of the soul. And they, when we move, when we create something, when we paint, when we cook, when we touch the earth, touch the ground, when we put our hands in the water, they send signals. And this is how we also communicate with our soul, through our hands. Also the tips of our fingers, huge energy goes through the tips of our fingers. So that's why when we touch someone, we can feel the energy. We can also heal with our hands, just by using our hands. It's very healing energy. It's a communication. It's a different kind of language. That's the universal language. And when we are little, we learn through touch also. We learn so much through touch. We touch everything. We want to touch everything to see what it is. So hands are very strong. And also hands are telling us so much about ourselves. Our whole life can be seen in our hands. And when we look at the hands of older people, we can see somehow their whole life through their hands. We can even see the character of the person through the hands. It's like something very similar to chart, to our natal chart, and also palm reading. Very powerful thing, very much related to astrology. But in hands there is so much power in our hands. And everything that we do it with our hands. Like we build with our hands, we create with our hands. Hands and the heart are really connected. It's really an extension. Like, think about all the writers, all the people who write poetry and poems, books, love letters. They are all written by the hand, but they come from the heart. So we have an ability to express our soul, to infuse our soul through our hands, to show our inner world through our hands. And mind is also related very much to hands. Our sight also very much connected to hands. What we see with our eyes, we create with our hands. It can be a remote healing. Remote healing is also possible with hands. And it's a Gemini, it's communication. When we talk about something, when we express ourselves, look, I'm all the time making these gestures with my hands. And it's very important what we do in our relationships with people, in our everyday relationship with ourselves. How do we touch things around us? It's very powerful to know these things, because many people don't ever think about these things, just taken for granted. And it's very important how we touch things in our everyday life too. The way we touch things is also reflected in our life. And if we touch anything, glass of water, with heart energy, that glass of water and that water will be healing for us. That water can heal us. Also, if we touch the door with our hands, with the energy of love, that opening of door will also be healing and magical for us. When we write from the heart, whatever we write, it will be very healing for us and the person who reads it as well. But when we do these things with some kind of resentment in our heart, with some kind of bitterness in our heart, then of course we will feel it. We will feel it. That water won't be so tasty, won't be so good, won't be so magically healing. When if we slam the door, that energy won't be healing for us. Of course, I'm not saying never do these things, but let's be more aware of how these energies work and how they circulate and how they affect us, because what we give, we receive. And it's very powerful to know these things. I say these always, because when we know how to live, how to use this energy, how the nature and elements work and function, then we have the power to achieve our highest aspirations. Then we truly have the power to get to that level of being that we dream of. Then we can manifest our dreams. And again, Saturn in Pisces, we can manifest these dreams now, and it's going retrograde together with this new moon. So we have opportunity to see our world with much different eyes, with new perspective, with new enthusiasm. There is something new. There is new ideas are coming to us, new downloads of energy, new perspectives, new perceptions. It's new beginning. There is something new, definitely, something new on the horizon, and it's about our curiosity. Never stop wondering, never stop asking questions. This is a call to adventure, call to learn something new. Gemini, it's a lot about learning, and it's very powerful if we always learn. We are learning through our whole life. We are continuously learning things, and we are eternal students and eternal teachers at the same time. Everyone is student and teacher at the same time, and we may be learning something very strong, very new, very mind-opening, and we may be teaching others something that is also mind-opening. This is mentally stimulative new beginning, and we can cultivate this energy more. This is we can recognize our responsibility now to do these things. Many people will recognize their own responsibility in all of this. This Saturn retrograde will remind us of our responsibility, and Saturn is our master teacher. It's, Saturn is the Lord of Karma, the Lord of the Rings, and it's bringing up those karmic lessons that we need to look at, that we need to learn. And they will be active very much until the February of 2026, as long as Saturn is in Pisces. And whenever Saturn is active, there are some harsh awakenings, but they are needed. Without this, we are not getting anywhere. But there are also rewards with Saturn. And if we are, rewards are there if we are willing to do the work. Saturn asks us to do the work that needs to be done. We have to, get our hands dirty. Saturn is now going retrograde, so it reminds us that sometimes we have to get our hands dirty, and we have to do the work that we may not really want to do, some work that we have been avoiding, but we have to do it. And these are possibly issues with authority, issues with masculine energy, issues with father figures, with authority figures, with superiors. But we have to see what is this triggering in us, why we have these issues, where are they coming from, how are we projecting them, from where. And we can take responsibility for our lives now. It's our own action. We have to take action and to make a decision and learn how to create boundaries as well. This is about learning how to create boundaries. And it may be a bit tough because it's in Pisces. Pisces has no boundaries, but Saturn is there to teach us how to create these boundaries in a healthy way, and how to keep ourselves sane and not to go into those fantasies and fictions and imaginations that are not rooted in truth, but that are rooted in fears and in need to escape something that we want to escape. So if we feel stuck during this time, because we may feel stuck, it's because we are meant to be right where we are. And if we feel stuck, let's sit with it and see, let's just, let it process, let it be processed in a natural way. And on somewhere around the 3rd of November, Saturn will station direct, and it's a long process. And then we will experience rewards for those efforts that we are making between now and November. So, and these are efforts that ask us to take responsibility for our feelings, take responsibility, be more disciplined, mental discipline, serious spiritual devotion, serious spiritual work. This doesn't mean that we all have to become spiritual masters, even though this is the highest expression of Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is the master, Pisces is spiritual, so spiritual masters. We all are spiritual masters, but we are now learning, and it doesn't matter if we fail many times, we will make it once. We just have to keep trying, actually keep doing the thing that we have to do, keep doing the work. And being quiet can be pretty challenging when we have Gemini energy. But this square with Neptune in Pisces is helping us to be quiet. It's teaching us about the power of being silent, because when we are silent, when we are free from those crazy distractions and shiny, glittery things, we have the power to hear our inner voice. We have the power to connect with that intuitive voice within ourselves that we all carry. When we are silent, we can hear better. When we are silent, we can hear those very subtle tones and frequencies. So it's very necessary to be quiet as much as we can. Not all the time, but let's remember to ground ourselves from time to time, to be quiet, to silence ourselves, to be with ourselves, to take care of ourselves. These are our internal thought processes, and how we interact with these internal mental processes. Are we aware of them at all, or do we just, live without ever considering our inner thought patterns and thinking about, what kind of thoughts prevail in my life, and then having a better understanding and clearer picture of why certain things happen in my life. So there is big theme of duality. Theme of duality must be very strong now, because Gemini is dual sign. We have Gemini the twins. Pisces is also dual sign. We have fish, two fish, and Mars and Venus also together, again, theme of duality. And it's very emphasized. So we need to become aware that this duality is not against us. Also, this duality is incorporated within us. We are dual beings, but we are also beings of oneness. I know it can sound like a paradox, but it's not. We live in the world of paradoxes, but we pretend that we are not living in the world of paradoxes, but we are. And when we start understanding that things can be paradox, and sometimes something is true, and sometimes the same thing isn't true. So when we have ability to stretch our mind, to change our mind, then we can truly step out of ourselves, of our usual selves, step out of our mold, and see different realities, see that we live in the multi-dimensional world, we are multi-dimensional beings. Gemini, multiple personalities, multi-talented. Everything is, expanding, exponentially growing. It's from one comes many. I spoke about this in full moon Gemini video about the archetype and symbology of Gemini. So it's knowing that we are one, and that we are two, and that we are 3 and 4 and 5, that we are many, but it all comes from the one. And this is how everything is created. The cells as well. The cells, they grow in the same way. From 1 comes 2, and then 3, and then they grow. And it's very powerful to know that these also all these polarities and oppositions and dualities are truly, they are encoded within ourselves. All the stories or all the mythologies where we have 2 brothers or 2 lovers fighting or separating and reuniting, Castor and Pollux, Geminis, the twins mythology, they are first united, then they separate, then they are in grief, then they come back together. All these stories where we have, Horus and Seth in the mythology of Horus, Isis, and Seth. Then we have Yin and Yang. Then we have Romeo and Juliet. Then we have Jekyll and Hyde, Romulus and Romus and Remulus. All these dual stories, Romeo and Juliet. There are many, many, many. They are all incorporated within ourselves. The good and the evil. the most primal duality that there is, the battle between the good and the evil, the battle between the light and the darkness, the battle between our mask and our essence, our personality and our inner being, our outer being and our internal being, our dark twin and our light twin. So these things create our mental strength. We practice thanks to these dualities. Without these dualities, we wouldn't be able to store the knowledge. We wouldn't be able to remember things without these dualities. We wouldn't be able to have a memory. And memory is very, very important. And that's why I say many times we have to remember who we are, because we have this code within ourselves of remembering who we are. And whenever we have lunations like this, there is an opportunity for each of us to come closer to that remembrance. And I would say there is a saying, the way we think is the way we live. Like the way our thoughts are is the way our life is. But I would say it's more about our memories. It's about how our memories are, is what our life is. What kind of memories we have, this is what kind of life we project and manifest. And strength of the mind is very active now. This mental strength will be shown to us. It will be exposed to us. Mental strength. When we have mental strength, we have ability to work on our willingness also. We have to have strong will in order to have strong connection with the spirit. If we don't have strong will, we will continuously feel defeated and weak and defeated by life, and feeling like life is a constant battle without an opportunity to succeed. Like we have to win life, but we are not competing with life. This is also something that we have learned in a wrong way. Actually, we have been taught in a wrong way, but we are now unlearning many things. It's also Gemini energy, learning and unlearning. We have to unlearn many things and to understand that this strong will creates a great device, a great body for embodying the spirit. But when we think that we have to battle with life continuously, constantly, like we are in a big fight with life. Life is a constant battle, and every day we fight with life in trying to conquer life. But life is not against us. So who are we competing with? Who are we fighting with? Who are we trying to conquer? That's the question, because life is not fighting with us. So we are fighting with ourselves all the time. And we lose because we fight with imaginary enemy. And we think that we are being defeated all the time. And I know I hear many people saying like, I have no chance. Life always challenges me and puts me in a more challenging situations every day. But yes, of course, it gives us more challenging situations so that we can grow more and more. Of course, I mean, if we finish elementary school, of course we are going to have more challenging tests to learn things, more challenging things to learn. So the higher we go, the harder the challenges are. So it's not about, learning elementary things and then just, using the elementary things in life. No, it's about continuous development and improvement. And this energy now is really showing us what new things we can do, how new thoughts can arise. It's a rise of a new thought in us. And when new thought rises, it's like giving truly a birth to our new selves, because one thought can change our whole frequency, and only one information, one news can completely change our whole atmosphere, our whole nervous system, our whole vibration of the cells. So if we hear good news, of course our whole being is changed. And even if we were tired second before, we won't feel tired anymore. Or if we were hungry, we are not hungry anymore. We just feel great because we heard some good news, some great news. But if we hear some bad news, then we don't want to do anything. It's just, everything is colored with that information. So remember, information is very powerful. So let's be aware of what kind of information we share with each other. Are we sharing information that give people opportunity to be happy? Or are we sharing information that will put others down? And why do we have this need to share some bad news if we don't have to? Because I see many people do these things. We are somehow collectively addicted to negative news, to bad news, to complaining, because we can talk about these things for hours, days, months, and years. I hear people talking about the same things that are really, really negative. They can talk about them all day long, every day. So it's very important to see and ask ourselves, what are we sharing with others? What kind of news and information and words we speak with each other and to ourselves? Do we have this strength, mental strength, to ignore our need to share those negative things? Because I know it's attractive, it's very it's addictive. It's really addictive. And I'm not saying to deny those things, but not to give them so much power, because we give our power away by doing this. But we can choose, we can just change the focus. If we have an ability to just shift from that to different kind of energy, to some good and empowering news, just thinking differently can completely change everything. Yeah, like we all know this. Remember, in life, so many times it happened when we continuously repeat to ourselves that I don't know, I won't get to that place on time. I'm sure I won't get there. I won't get there, and we don't get there. But if we have in ourselves the feeling and knowledge and belief and this mental decisiveness that we will get there no matter what, on time, of course we will get there. But this doesn't mean that we are using force to get there, or that we are, arming and pushing others to get somewhere. No, but we just have that sense and attitude within ourselves that we will make it. And if it doesn't happen, we will still find another way. Then there is another alternative. Look, I'll use this way to get there. It doesn't matter. There is always an alternative. There is always another way to get to somewhere. But many people stay stuck in only seeing one way. It's like just looking this, and when I turn, I again look like this or like this. But let's try to see, everything, because this is what we can do now. Many of us, I know, I'm not saying physically to see at once 360 degrees, but this is something that we can do internally. We can stretch our perception and change the way we see things. Trust me, auto-suggestion is very strong thing. It's it's something we can do with ourselves. This is the tool that we are given as our powerful personal deprogramming device. Auto-suggestion. Let's use it in a powerful way, in a constructive way, and not in a disempowering and destructive way. Auto-suggestion is very, very powerful. So, do we know what kind of thoughts we think? Do we know the process of our thoughts? Do we have control over our own minds? Because if we don't, somebody else will have control of our minds. If we are not the ones who are, sitting in the driver's seat, if we are not the ones who are thinking for ourselves, somebody else will, take the driver's seat and drive us. It won't be us. So that's why many people live lives of somebody else. They don't live their own life. They are being driven by somebody else. They are not sitting in the driver's seat, because sitting in the driver's seat means that we have to take full responsibility for everything. And many people find it easier to be driven by somebody else and just not to have that kind of responsibility. And then these people complain for not having fulfilled life. Of course, it's not about having fulfilled life. It's a completely missed life if we do these things. But of course, we are learning from that too. If we are not in the driver's seat, it doesn't matter. We can wake up to that truth, and we can just, wake up and see, look, I have been living all this time being driven by somebody else, letting my thoughts being run by somebody else. Now I'm taking the control. And this means that we are now in the deep contemplation. Collectively, we have ability to walk into this very, very deep contemplation, deep process, and we can play with these archetypes. We can. Gemini is about playing. It's about the joyous spirit, and how can I play? How can I use this energy for fun? how can I face my fears to evoke courage? And these kinds of new beginnings that are asking us to follow threads of curiosity, of wondering, like that childlike curiosity. Again, Venus and Mars in Leo, awakening the child within ourselves, allowing us to do things from the heart, and allow these energies to express through us in a playful way. This is empowering, uplifting energy that gives us ability to be empowering and uplifting, and not trying to dominate others, to put power over others, to complain, to just have have it easier if we share something bad that happened to us, and we do it even though we know it will affect other people in a bad way, but we do it just to feel better. It's personal interest. So let's rise above this personal interest. Let's swallow this pain within ourselves. Let's sit with it. Let's walk through it. Let's take responsibility for it. Let's not be so spoiled, because we are collectively spoiled. Even though we think we are not, we are, trust me, we are all spoiled. As long as we have this need to share our pain with the whole world so that everyone can see it. Let's take it for ourselves. It's our own truth serum. Let's take it for ourselves. Nothing bad will happen. We can only get better from this. And then let's be an example, a great example, to everyone around us. And it can be a lonely road, but go into this lonely road. Why not? It may be empty at first, but it's uncertain at first, but then it grows into something different, and it's necessary to walk through the desert. We know from the stories, many stories, walking through the desert. It's a necessary path for us to gain the wisdom. Then we can come and share the wisdom. Then we can do things. Then we gain the power to, have control over ourselves, to have control of our mind, to have control of the driver's seat. And these opportunities for conversations are very healing now. We can, have amazing healing conversations during this time, only if we choose to have them. Collective compassion. This is very much about collective compassion. This Neptune in Pisces squaring this new moon. So conversations are healing, and these healing conversations put us in that collective compassionate field. And because those parts of ourselves that we've thrown out, that we have pushed away, they have been demonized. Those parts of ourselves that we push aside, they turn into our shadow and they become demonized. So we are now acknowledging those things that we have been pushing away, and we are recognizing masculine and feminine wounds. We are recognizing issues of patriarchy and issues of matriarchy. We can recognize some good things there and some good things there, but it's not about going and choosing these sides, but about, incorporating both of these things, because we are dual beings, and then returning into that oneness, which is of course much easier said than done. But we are here to work on reaching that fusion within ourselves. And it's not about just talking. Words can be very empty. We can talk about many things, but if we only talk about them, then if there is no spirit, no soul into these words, if we don't use them from the heart, they have no strength. We can say many things, but if they don't have strength, they won't influence anyone. These, same story can be told by 10,000 people, but maybe only one person will be able to tell it directly from the heart and then to be heard by the whole world. And these are the things that make us wake up. These are the things that truly make us wake up, and this is the courage to own our own masculine and feminine, to own our own masculine and feminine wounds, to own our own patriarchal and matriarchal destructive patterns, so that we can build something sustainable, so that we can build something that liberates our soul, to unblock our root chakra, get our roots into the earth, and to open to new realities and new paradigms, new communities, new ways of being in a relationship, new ways of doing relationships, to be clear from avoiding things, to clear ourselves from power struggles, and to see how can we inspire each other more, to embrace those dualities within ourselves and not to project them constantly into the outer world and to lose ourselves into that outer world, to think that this is out and I am here, this is there and I'm here, and there is no connection between me and what I'm seeing. No, it's them, they are to blame, but I'm here watching. But we should ask ourselves, about these things. So we are coming out of certain scenarios. We are coming out of the movies that we've been playing, and we have ability to see that we have been playing certain roles, but we can now also maybe direct this movie a little bit more. We can upgrade it. And I saved one little poem from, of course, Rumi, that I want to share with you. I have to read it. I saved it on my phone. Just a moment, please. Okay, here it goes. It says, how does a part of the world leave the world? How can wetness leave water? Do not try to put out a fire by throwing on more fire. Do not wash a wound with blood. No matter how fast you run, your shadow more than keeps up. Sometimes it's in front. Only full overhead sun diminishes your shadow. But that shadow has been serving you. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Your boundaries are your quest. For me, this one is so good and so much aligned with this energy. And I really felt it fully through my whole body and outside of my body. I felt it everywhere. And it could be a great mantra to repeat, to read it, to say it out loud, to have it in our hearts and our minds. And with this, I would end the story of this new moon in Gemini. And I would again love to thank you all for being here, for listening, for hearing these words, for working on yourselves, for doing your best to be the best that you can be, and for supporting this whole story. This is not about supporting us as Moon Omens or supporting, the community. This is about supporting this story of waking up, supporting the scenario where we are the ones who are responsible for ourselves and who create the world where we are all in our driver's seat, where we don't give our power away, where we don't just sit and wait for others to do things for us, where we don't just sit and blame, where we do things, where we do the work, where we just build something that is real, that is functional, that is sustainable, that is meaningful, that has depth, that has meaning. So thank you everyone for this ability to share these kinds of stories and to be heard. It really means so much, not to me, but I think it really means to the universe and to life, to feel supported by life and to support life in that way. So thank you everyone. Please leave your comments, share them, share your experiences. I read all of them, even though I don't reply to all of them, but I read all of them, I like all of them, and they really mean a lot in this collective space, to build this collective space with those kinds of thoughts, empowering ones. So thank you all, see you in 2 weeks, I love you, and bye bye.